morning. Here we are again. So weird. This whole thing is so weird. I hope everyone is well and keeping safe and keeping positive and keeping real of the seriousness of our situation and this weirdness of live streaming. Yesterday I was admittedly a little nervous, so the learning curve is real and I intend to get better at this. I want to say a few things before we start. This two-dimensional flat screen medium isn't great. It's not ideal. Again, call me old school, but I like yoga classes in person. So whatever I offer may or may not work for you, and I can't tell, so you have to take care of you. There was a request again this morning from one of my best yogini friends, Dharma sisters, for the quadratus lumborum. She's got a bunched up one side of her low back. And so we're going to touch side body again today. Side body is actually very appropriate for this time of year. If you use the lens of Oriental medicine, we are coming into spring, which is wood element, and the organs that relate to that run along the side body. Wood element, they call it, related to the organs of liver and gallbladder. And according to the story of Oriental medicine, they say that when these energies are in sync and well balanced, that we're kind and we're patient and we can be benevolent, which the world needs that now. In the case where liver or gallbladder energies are out of whack or imbalanced, the tendencies towards impatience, meanness might lead to things like hoarding behaviors and anger and aggression. So we're going to look to sort of pacify these energies and find ways to be more patient, more loving, more benevolent. That might happen more during our class together. Another thing I want to say is all the studios I work at have closed. I'm self-employed, no work, no money. So if you love this, if you enjoy this, if this helps you, please consider donating $1 or $3 or $5 or $10 or whatever to my Venmo account, and that address is on my page. If you cannot donate and still love it, please watch, enjoy. And for today's class, you'll need a couple of blocks. You won't need a dog unless you really want one, and a blanket and a strap. Please take care of yourself. So we'll get started. You have to go lay down over there. Over here. Come here, Ivy. Oz, come on, come lay down. Little boy. Lay down. Lay down. So we're going to start supine, and I invite you to have your blanket unfolded into fourths. And I like to be able to slide my legs and also have the option to sort of stick my feet. So I recommend you fold your mat in half. So whether you have carpet or hardwood, you can still slide your feet. And then you can lay the blanket over your mat. If you have a really thick mat that doesn't fold up easily in half, then just put the blanket on one half of the mat and let your feet be on the floor. Starting supine. And either knees together, feet wide, or if your low back lets you, you can start in star shape, where the arms are up and out or out to the side and the legs are long and apart. And so whether you're here, star shape, or here, knees bent, simply come into your breathing. And starting perhaps with some sense of appreciation, some gratitude for the breath that gives life, the ability to feel your breath and the ability to interact with it and be in relationship with that life force. You can move it up or down, in and out. And maybe also a sense of appreciation for the ability to notice, the capacity to self-reflect, and really appreciate the opportunity that we have to be awake and to be in this moment with all that's happening, all the things that are beautiful and all the things that are scary. And falling into the unknown with a sense of trust and love and courage. Even if fear is there, even if distrust is there, there are many things we can trust. We can trust this breath. Feel the lungs go low and wide as you breathe in. Feel the prana move low and wide. So you're looking to touch even the muscles of the lumbar spine with breath. So let's physically touch the place we're going to be focusing on in the first part of practice for sure. So your legs can stay long and wide, or actually in this part it might be better if you bend the knees, take the feet wide, knees together. And you can, with your own fingers, sort of poke into, or depending on your ability, sort of grab your side waist. The muscle we're going to be focusing on lives in the deep back. So it's not surface back, it's deep back. Also making it deep front. But it's a back muscle. It lives behind the psoas muscle. And you can sort of palpate it, whether you just touch the side seam here of your body with your fingertips. You'll feel it's a fairly flat muscle. It connects the back of your pelvis and all the lumbar vertebra and your lowest ribs. And there's actually 2 layers of it, or more maybe, depending on the body. But touch each side, feel around in there, even if you don't feel anything obvious. Simply touch and connect and feel what you feel. But if you do have a sense of where that muscle lives, quadratus lumboris, and that just means it's quadrilateral shaped, it lives in your lumbar spine, your low back, it's on either side. And they'll probably be quite different. You know, my right side is not much tighter, somewhat tighter. And so having made a tactile contact and some intentional mindful contact and then contact with breath, let's add some movement here. So if you bring your knees and your feet hip width apart, arms out to the side, begin to rock on the pelvis. So when you inhale, like you're rolling a marble from your navel to your tail, you'll arch. And if it's sensitive here, go gentle. And then with the exhale, like you're going to roll that marble from your tail back to your navel. Drop your lumbar, press it into the floor, and feel the sit bones and the tail curl up. Just this much. Inhale. Little lift through the lumbar. And exhale, press top of sacrum, lumbar back. This is the basic template. Now, this is a symmetrical movement, and you can work asymmetrically here depending on what you feel. So if you make one heel heavier, I'm making my right heel heavier, and it's going to shove more weight into my left SI joint. And I can rock on this left side of my pelvis and spine. What that's going to do is bring a little more length in the heavy heel side. Can you feel that? and a little more gathering in the lighter heel side. So you could stay on one side, which I just did for a few rounds. I'm switching now, left heel is heavier. Lengthening more left side on both the inhale, arching, and the exhale, pressing my left heels, putting more weight in my right side, and shortening that side. So I'm going to do about 3 or 5 repetitions. You could go right to left, inhale, push right heel, roll on left side to the exhale, and then inhale, push left heel. So you're making what was a symmetrical movement asymmetrical. The knees will swing a little bit, right to left. Maybe 1 or 2 more. And then return either to your knock-kneed feet wide or your star shape or something else. You might need to hug your knees in to feel better, cleansing your palate. Appreciate this next breath and each breath as they come. Come into the midline, so legs right together, arms overhead. If your shoulders let you, you could certainly hold your shoulders if the arms overhead doesn't work for you. And then stretch that right side long and maybe point or flex or both. Stretch left side long. The head might roll right to left. Sink the breath in, long inhales and long exhales. And simply enjoy the length. I get deeply inspired by my pets, my cat, my dog, the way they stretch and move their bodies. They're like fully into it. It's not some show or some sense of achievement. It's just like, oh yeah, this is necessary. And let's come to baby ball on our back, which is one of my favorite things. So you curl in, try to let the navel draw everything in. I like this action with the feet. I talked about it yesterday, where you dorsiflex the ankles and you plantar flex the feet. So you're shortening from toe tips to heels, and then you're shortening the front of the ankles, which helps to get a little bit more curled in. It does other things. It's a pretty potent, really old move. So from here, why don't we grab our knees? Keep your head curled in if you can. Do a little wobble right to left. And what I encourage you to do is to slow down the wobble, make it sort of micro. And you can suspend the wobble, sort of hanging out on one side of the spine, on one of those lumbar muscles, the QL, right or left. Certainly head can come down if you need to. It brings some of the stretch, some of the tension out of the back body, which is fine. You go right and left a couple of times. And when you're ready, let's come back to wide legs, wide arms, star shape. Knees and toes point straight up. And then simply slide left leg over towards the right leg. It may not get all the way there. Keep it close to the floor. Slide it on the floor. And then here it's like engaging inner thighs. You have to really squeeze and hug that left leg over. So for me, that's all outer leg up into my side pelvis, maybe some sideways. You can add more by sweeping left arm to right arm. So you're simply side lying, simply laying on your back in a side bend. And then brush the breath up and down that whole left side. We're going to take this movement right to left. So when you wish, super simple, open up that left side and then squeeze the right side over, whether you just do legs or you bring in that whole upper body. And so it's super simple, opening to the star and then sliding one side over to the other. You can go as fast or as slow as you like. You can linger in the side bend and just hold it there, or go right to left, right to left, right to left. I'm doing a little bit of both. A lot of the work from today's class is similar to yesterday's class, but different. It's a new day, if nothing else. New body, different day, different body, different needs. And we're going to do a couple more of these soft, swishy things before we do some more soft but static things, and then we'll work harder. So let's say a few more here, right to left. So I'm taking the opportunity to lift the lengthening side leg, not very much, and sort of trying to point those toes, reach those toes a little bit past the short side leg, and that gives me a little more access, a little more depth, and more biofeedback to connect with. Totally optional. I'm also using the shortening side arm to pull long on the lengthening side arm. Stay with that if you like. I'm going to baby ball. You can choose if you wish, depending on your yoga chops. Straighten your legs in your baby ball and reach your feet overhead and your arms towards where your feet were. So crisscrossing arms and legs. And then maybe a little right to left again. Certainly legs don't have to be straight here. You can certainly hug knees or go hands free. And then when you're ready, plop your feet on the floor. Interlace your hands behind your head. Waggle your feet right together, knees and feet together. Keep the right foot where it is and drape the left knee over the right knee. So it's not ankle to knee, it's knee to knee. And then in this one, we're going to take the knees just to the left. And try to pin that right shoulder blade on the ground behind you. Swing the knees up and they're going to keep going to the left. So the knees are going towards that top side leg. And depending on what you feel, you may decide like, shit, I need to start on the other side first, right? Your choice. How quickly you take this movement is up to you. I tend to be the school of slow-mo school, slow burn school, slow down school. And I'm also using the top leg to sort of bring a little bit of weight onto the lengthening side. And here's another chance to touch that deep back muscle, the quadratus lumborum. I can really feel that sheath. It's a sheet, it's a big wide sheet. I can touch the very edges of it and sort of breathe and feel it release and let go. I'm all for self-assisting. Using your own hands and parts to address your own parts and needs. Let's keep this up and add. When the knees tip left, sweep the right elbow. The whole upper body sweeps to the left. So this is a move that I learned from one of my beloveds, T.S. Little. I think he borrowed it from Thomas Hanna people, the sort of one of the first schools of somatics. So as you side bend, you're sweeping knees to the left and side bending torso. Right elbow goes overhead. You look to that elbow, maybe give it a few more rounds before you switch sides, or maybe you stay on this side. I'm going to side 2. You decide if you are joining me. So first, just the knee. So now right knee is on top. Knee to knee. Tip knees over to the right. And you know, the first rep on the second side not only has its own karma to deal with, but the fact that you just did all that opening of the other side. So nice and slow and sensitive. Knees up and then to the right, and then up and to the right, and up and to the right. So they're going towards the top leg side. Now you might notice I'm doing something special here with my left foot. I like to get on the inner edge of the ball mound and pump the heel. And what that does for me is it adds a little more internal rotation of that leg and hip, which helps me. My outer left hip is my new site for drama last few weeks, since I fell on the ice in January, actually. That musculature has been pretty screwy. So I love this. So just the knees can be enough. You can hang out, you can do reps, you can add that little left foot heel pump, or leave it out. Adding the upper body if you choose. So you keep both elbows on the ground, both shoulders on the ground, but you sweep that whole upper body shape to the right. So it's like left knee and left elbow are getting a lot of distance. And then here again, I can touch. I'm using my shortening side hand, my right hand, to just tap in to the side seam. And wherever it feels tight and sticky, I might tug that flesh a little, like towards my navel. Super gentle, just like getting at the fascia. It's particularly sensitive for me where the pelvis, the side of the pelvis, the outer hip bones, meet my side waist. That's a pretty gummy place. So I can grab there with my whole palm and simply invite the flesh and the sinew just under it to wrap around towards my belly. Yum, yum, yum. And what a gift to feel and respond and to address in real time our needs. Let this be a little microcosm for a greater effort globally. Yes. A few more here. Playing with exhales and inhales. Doesn't have to be one or the other, even if someone says it has to be. Don't believe them. And also how you exhale, how I've been exhaling. Putting a little resistance behind it, like with pursed lips or a hiss. To prolong the out breath, to strengthen and release the breath muscles. Okay, that's enough of that. I'm going to go back to my star. You could do like a knee hug, baby ball, anything. Rock the pelvis how we started. However you want to cleanse your palate. It's unique for everyone. From here, exhale. Well, if you're not in your star shape, come to your star shape. And then exhale, it's like right elbow to left knee. You can keep the head and tail down as much as you can. Notice I'm adding that little foot curl. And then re-extend, and then left elbow to right knee. So just crisscross limbs. I'm going to add a little tail on this one. So I'm trying to curl up the pelvis, regardless of the heavy right leg. So I'm adding another limb. So it's like left arm, right knee, and tail. And then left knee, right arm, and tail. So I'm coming from the paradigm of 6 limbs, 2 arms, 2 legs, a head and a tail. I'm going to add head now. So tail, head, and opposite arm and leg. And I'm trying to let it all be initiated by the navel. And I'm staying with head, tail, opposite arm and leg for a few more. But we're going to play here. We're going to play with all these varieties of combos with our 6 limbs. So now I'm going to leave my head out. It's going to be both legs and tail. So I'm trying to bring like knees to armpits, tail to navel. If it's too much to straighten the legs in between each one, then just put your feet on the floor. Simplify. Make it easier. But I'm trying to curl from the navel to my toes to my tail. And I'm going to take this now to the right. Both knees to my right armpit, head and shoulders staying down. Navel initiating. Both knees to left armpit. So if you've got some QL drama, you might just do one side repeatedly. You might curl more or less to affect directly sideways. Now I'm going to bring it all in. Both legs, head and tail, and both arms. Slowly going back to the star with an inhale. Curling it all in. I'm going to take both elbows, head over to one side. Back to the center. And then elbows, head to the other side. Easy, easy, slow and juicy. Starting to feel some good fire in the belly. And a couple more. I'm going to keep feet down and bring up head and arms. So I got knees bent, feet on floor. Now I'm just curling head and arms alternately over to the right. And then back to X and then over to the left. Now I'm actually going to add my tail. Just tail, no feet. Adding a little counter arch on the inhale. And a few more. Maybe one knee and a tail and head and both arms. Okay, that's enough for me. You keep going if you want. Back to my star. I'd like to flip over into Sphinx pose. And so my friend who asked for some QL work said that even Cobra was difficult. So it doesn't have to be Sphinx, it could simply be head on hands. That might be enough, sort of back bend for you. Or Sphinx, or a really small Sphinx, where it's like your forearms are in front of you and you're just doing a little bit of lift with head and shoulders. Either way, let the belly open after that ab work. And let's add a side bend. So if you're in a Sphinx, you just walk your elbows over a little or a lot to one side. And I'm sending my breath. So I went to the right. My left side lumbar is lengthening, left side ribs. And I'm gonna tuck, same side, left toes under, turn that leg a little in, get a little squeezy on my right side, breathe more, left side ribs. So however you want to accentuate or mute, dial down what you're feeling. Like, this is the skill. It's not the shape itself, it's how you can interact with it and find what's skillful for your needs. This can certainly be done in that lower back bend. I'm going to my other side now. So whether you're up in Sphinx or just head on hands or somewhere in between, side bending. I like to sort of squiggle my shoulder around, tucking the lengthening side toes under, that's the right toes. Sending breath way over here, way down here. And by here, I mean my side ribs and my side waist. And when you're ready, you come back to center and you could soften the head and chest down, or if you need to, you push back to child's pose. I'm going to stay up in my Sphinx because it feels good, so you choose. Take a pause. I'd like to meet in Sphinx. And this next move, it actually comes from developmental theory. It's one of our early sort of reflexes in uprighting responses, where we go from this belly down place to a little side bend. So if you roll to your outer left hip, left elbow, and simply let the right knee drag along. So I'm side lying on my elbow, on my hip, and the right leg's just hanging out. So the opportunity to lengthen some more in QL muscle here. So you could stay here and chill, or you go back and forth. So I'm actually going to reach now with that right leg and let it pull me back into my Sphinx. And then the exhale, navel to spine, rolling onto outer right hip, kicking onto that right hip and just chilling on my right elbow. Hanging out as long as you want. Left leg is just doing its thing. I'm going to go back and forth. So reaching through left leg to pull me back to center. Breathe in and then exhale to the other side. You could follow your eyes further around to the right, bring more of the upper spine into it, and then my right leg's going to pull me through onto my belly. And then navel pulls me onto my side. La la la, hello again. Left leg pulls me back to center. We're going to grow this bigger in a minute. But for now, I'm just going to do a right and left. Maybe one more. And I can lovingly gaze at my dog. My favorite beast. Favorite dog beast. Oh, and there he is again. Okay, pause. I'm pausing. You keep going if you want. I'm actually going to bring my head down, shake my booty a little bit. You could push back to child's if you needed it. Or cat-cow. And then when you're ready, it's sort of the same beginning, slightly different ending. Go ahead and kick over onto that left hip. This time, bring both your knees up. So side lying on the elbow with knees bent. And I like to take this opportunity to toggle between shoulder blade and elevation, which means I'm just sinking my ribs down. That does something different in the rib cage. And then I'll depress the shoulder blade, which shoots my spine up. And then I get a little something in different places. So you could squeegee your shoulder blade down and up at your leisure. Keeping this side lying, knees bent, I'm going to bring more of a Sphinx pose, so my top arm comes forward. I'm offset here. I'm not directly facing the end of my mat, although I could, right? But I'm just letting it sort of fall into place. And then there's a way that I can roll to the outer, sort of higher up on my outer hip, or more towards the sit bone on my outer hip. So it's sort of like side-lying cat-cow Sphinx hybrid. I don't like hybridized food, but I love hybridized asana. I guess that's all I'll say about that. And so you can make it bigger, like actually bring full flexion into your spine. And more full extension, but it's a twist, right? Because both elbows are down, and it's a side bend. Stay with this if you like. Adding another component if you wish. So with the cat pose, sideline twisty cat pose, I'm going to extend the top leg knee, and like I want to touch those toes to the top of my head. And then as I go towards the cow, swinging the leg long behind me, and then actually wrapping it around, knocking my block over, and looking for those toes, looking for my right toes over there to the left. And then cat posing the spine, swinging the leg forward. And as I cow pose my spine, swinging the leg backward. Movement can be big or small, big or small. Let's say 2, 3, 4 more. And you don't even have to straighten the leg, right? You could just bring the knee to the shoulder as you curl in, and try to point your knee away from your head as you curl back. Big or small, does not matter. And I'm going to come back onto my belly, wiggle the booty, shake it out. Take a pause. You could child's pose, you could do straight up cat-cow. Side number 2, Sphinx-ish something. Roll to outer right hip, bend the 2 knees. Knees straight out from hips, and I'm going to come into a Sphinx upper body, so that left elbow's down on the ground now. You could have both elbows closer to your knees for a little less stretchy, or try to orient your elbows and your face towards the top of your mat. All are going to have varying effects on this side waist. Cat-cow, it's essentially what it is, rolling the weight towards the sit bone side of the leg, and then rolling the weight towards the waist side, pelvis side, upper pelvis side of the leg. Uh-huh. So I'm not confining one shape to one side of the breath only, like inhale, cow, exhale, cat. I'm doing a little bit of both. I'm just stretching the breath out and I'm feeding the breath into the shape as I go, and if it feels good, I stay longer and breathe more. So it does not have to be prescribed or confined in any way. I'm going to add my leg now. So in the cat shape, upper leg, that's my left leg, sweeping and swinging it forward. And then when I go to the cow, I swing it back and I look for it. Hello, left toes, I love you. And then forward. Again, the knee doesn't have to be extended. You could do a bent knee here. Or straight legs. So this is strong, much stronger than what we were doing before. Leave the leg out if you want. It's harder for me to twist to the right, and that's clear. So I'd linger here actually a little bit longer. I'm feeling pretty good with this. So I'm actually going to come back onto my back. You could soften onto your front first and then roll onto your back. And I'm just cleansing the palate here with some swing of knees right to left, rolling head right to left. Baby ball. And then Shavasana, like not full on Shavasana yet, although you could be done. This could be enough for you. And let this be the end of your practice. I'm going to keep going. Couple more things on the floor. Interlace your hands behind you. Bring your legs right together. Well, not right together. Hip width, a little wider. And then pick up the right foot, not super high, just enough to sweep across the left. I'm pointing my toes, and I'm reaching so much that it's going to pull the right hip up and over, trying to keep right shoulder blade on the floor. Right leg can stay up, hovering higher or lower. I'm actually going to try to touch my right big toe towards the floor, way over there, keeping my right elbow and shoulder down. Right? I got a lot of range, so your limbs might be more in the air, and it's perfect. Landing, belly, hip, leg, then left side. Reachy, reachy with the foot, sweep it over, and let the left shoulder blade and elbow sort of be the anchor. Anchor. My props are in the way. I'm going to move them out of the way, trying to touch my big toe to the floor, certainly optional. And then pull the navel back, hip back, leg comes back. Each side again. This is one of my favorite things. I love this lying spiralic side body access. So I'm practically rolling onto the outer hip. Shoulder blade, elbow, counter reaching. You could go arms extended if that helps you to get the spread, the reach a little bit more integrated. This time, let that right leg pull you onto your left side. Pull you onto your left side. Pure side lying. So stack that right leg on top of your left. Pure side lying for a moment. Let's just pause here. I'm on my left side. And we're going to take that same long twisty business face down now. So right arm creeping along the floor on a diagonal, and notice my right leg's already swinging back. It helps to bend the bottom leg knee here, the left knee. So I'm bending it, and then right arm, right leg stretching on the diagonal, right arm long and up, right leg long and back and down, and little face plant here. So the leg is still reaching, but the arm again is the anchor. And if you feel better hovering the leg, let it hover, or depends on your hips, depends on many things. You could explore what it would be like to touch that big toe towards the floor. Don't do anything that hurts, please, ever. Ever, ever, ever. And then when you're ready, which might be never, just stay here for the full quarantine time, let the right leg pull you back onto your back. Star shape or hands behind head. Chillax for a momento. Got my arms long. Left leg lifts, floats, skims the floor, sweeps across the right, pulls me onto the outer right hip, and then just gonna let myself come to side lying. So there's this slow arrival onto pure right side lying. Now left leg is stacked. Left arm is stacked, just on my side. No big deal. It can be a big deal, actually. So if it's a big deal, honor that. And then left hand, I'm going to bring it on the floor in front of my chest. Stretch it long on the diagonal towards the overhead, but on the floor in front. Left leg sweeps back now as a counterbalance to the arm. And then bending the bottom leg knee. That right knee comes a little forward. Then here we are, side lying spiral. Love, love, love. And so then the arm and the leg have their dynamic reaching oppositionally, forehead to floor maybe, high, can peek under your right armpit, and then just letting the leg and the arm work this out. And they're talking about this whole sideways, this whole side spiral. How high the leg is up to you. I like to flirt with abducting it, so I touch it towards the floor. How much you let the ribs curl forward is a factor. The leg's turned in, so while the outer hip is rolling forward, you're swinging the leg back, right? So get your hips stacked, that's important. And then it's the leg reaching, it's gonna pull you back onto your back to your X, or your baby ball, or just however you land. Enjoying a pause. Exhale, baby ball on your back. You can kick your feet up and rock yourself up to sit. Let's get the blanket off to the side and reposition your mat. I'm just going to check our timing. Wow, that takes up a lot of time. So meet me in Sukhasana. That's shins crossed in front of you, and the knees are quite narrow, actually. So the feet line up under your knees, so it's not your sort of typical cross-legged position. And you can sit on your blanket if it helps. If you find yourself on the floor sitting and your lumbar is barreling backwards, then sit up on your blanket. Coming straight forward, I don't care which foot's in front, you pick, but I'd like you to take your heart towards that front leg foot. I have my right leg in front, so that means I'm taking my heart, my torso, over towards the left knee and the right foot. And then reaching that same side arm on the diagonal. So one more line from sit bone to hand with this folded up leg position. And I'm using my free hand like a training wheel so I can tip more weight towards the lengthening side. I'm using my left hand to tip more weight to my right. Can you go lay down, Ozzy? You went out? You went out? Okay, you guys stay in the pose. And I'll let the dog out. Bye-bye. And depending on what you have going on your two sides, my two sides are feeling pretty well balanced, so I don't feel the need to spend a lot of time here. So you change when you're ready, but when you change sides, change the cross of the legs. So now I'm putting left leg in front. I started with my right, taking heart towards that left knee and heart towards my left foot and right knee. And then my left arm, the side that's long, that arm reaches like itsy bitsy spider, crawl it diagonally away from your sit bone. So depending on your flexibility, you might be up a lot higher and it might look more like a twist. Maybe you just get a little leaning forward. Whatever you got, appreciate, enjoy, engage. Free hand, right hand is like training wheel over here, tipping more weight. I'm twisting as I'm forward bending to the side. So we're getting this whole three-dimensionality dynamic, which is all we got. We're three-dimensional beings, so we should really live in that three-dimensional spaciousness, including asana. All right, I'm coming up. Stay longer if you like. We'll meet with the legs straight out. So again, you can be up on a blanket if when you sit up, you can't sit up, you're sort of caught back here. Put a blanket under your bum. I don't need one, so I'm not using one. And then staying upright, twisting. I guess I'm twisting to my left first because I started lengthening the right side. So you twist whichever, it makes our lives easier if we all twist to the left, I guess. And then keeping that right sit bone as heavy as it can be, as if it's sort of bolted to the ground. You gotta bring around the navel, gotta bring around that whole waistband, and maybe elbows come down. I'm forward bending to the side, so creating a lot of length, a lot of weight here. Trying to get the right shoulder maybe heavier than the left. And adding a little reach, some heaviness down into that right sit bone hip crease. I'm changing sides. You stay longer if you like. In between changing sides, taking a pause. If you need a counter pose, you could add either a back bend here, like spinal extend in this dandasana, in this staff seat, or you could fold forward. I'm good just chilling upright, and I'm ready for second side. So twisting to the right, keeping a heaviness, a rootedness in the left sit bone. Taking the hands to the right as much as you can. You gotta bring around that whole sideways. So maybe a tiny cat pose in the belly. And the further I go down, which is optional, that left sit bone, left hip is gonna sort of come up off the floor, but my intention is to let it stay heavy. So forward bend to the side with a twist. Pretty complex, pretty complex. So do less if it feels intense. Actively reaching down through left sit bone. I mentioned I have outer left hip drama and I've got left thoracic drama, so it depends on where your hot spots are, like what you need to do to meet those. I'm going to use this to crawl on around to all fours. Some cat-cows, but for me mostly cow, because that was a lot of spinal flexion. And this is also another place where you could stop. You could simply come to child's pose or come to your belly and just rest and be done. Or come to Shavasana and be done, because now we're going to take it up. Intensity is going to climb from here. So will difficulty level. So please take care. Down dog when you're ready. And I like to swiggle about in the down dog. Since our focus is on side body, I'm going to turn this other way so you can see better. Take your right heel and tuck it into the arch of your left foot so your feet make like a T shape. And that right foot's like Vira 2, Warrior 2. And push the two hips back, still like down dog, but then swing the hips to the left. And I'm going to itsy bitsy spider my right hand a little bit further. So again, whole right side long. For me, it's mostly ribs, intercostal feedback, but I can get down into my QL muscle. And then you switch when you're ready. Left heel into right foot, swinging the hips way over to the right. And then back to center in front plank pose. So if you can get gathered up enough in your belly, you can always bring your knees down, of course. But so much lift in the belly and so much gathering there that you can reach your heart forward, you can reach your gaze forward, that you've got some sense of updraft under the abdomen. So even just here doing some good ab work. For my friends with lumbar, the QL Dukkha, bring your knees down. And I vote you slide your hips towards the tight side, right? And you could make this like a side bendy plank thing, your choice. I'm not in need of that, so I'm going to work symmetrically here. And then little micro push-ups, micro, to bring a little more work into the belly. Please have your gaze and your heart forward. Can add little knee taps, no weight, but little taps. If your knees are already down, just keep them down. And then back to down dog for me. Get a breather. Blur through plank, all the way to belly down. Untuck toes, drop forehead, and reach your arms back. Palms face each other. Grow the thumb side of the hand longer. Feel shoulder blades racing away from your neck. And then interlace the two hands behind you and punch your knuckles back. Again, lengthening neck. Exhale here, make your pubic bone heavy, belly light, shins heavy, and bring up your head and chest. So for my girlfriend who had the tight lumbar, tight QL, you could go away from the tight side here. Find a little side bendy cobra. And then keep the chest lifted, keep the head lifted. Free your hands, plant them, maybe build it bigger. We'll meet in down dog. We'll meet in down dog. And speaking of dogs, you guys stay there. You have to make up your mind, beast. Go lay down. We'll meet in standing, but you have to lay down. Catch a block. Place flat side between your knees. Not so have your feet just the right distance apart, that the block doesn't shove your knees apart, but you also don't have to like distort the legs to squeeze the block. So like just block width, and then really hug and then updraft the block. Like you could tractor beam it up all the way behind your throat. Heavy heels, weights back in the heels, interlace hands behind head, and then take that left elbow to the sky. And can you reach actually through the elbow? So it like pulls first on the armpit, then it'll pull some on the ribs. It'll eventually pull all the way down the side waist. You could bring your other hand, your right hand down lower to support. So right hand on pelvis can act as a bit of a fulcrum if you want to access a little lower in the side waist musculature, or if you want to stay a little more elongated, breathing into more of the intercostals. So you got choices. Thank goodness, right? From the side bend, stay here if you like, or I like, again, three-dimensionally, I'm going to bring that left elbow around and forward, thinking shoulder, left shoulder to right hip, really breathing into that left kidney. And then as a complement, left hand to hip, right hand behind head. Keep facing a little to the right, and then little back bendy to the left. And then back to the center. Maybe chair pose in the middle, or simply Urdhva Hastasana, so take arms up and stay here, stretchy long, or bend your knees. Keep squeezing the block, heavy those heels. Like put your weight in your heels and feel how that gathers your belly. Second side. Interlace hands to start. Right elbow to the clouds. Right foot into middle earth. Feel lift through armpit, side ribs, and you guide this. How much? And where do you put it? Left hand on hip acts as a support, so you can direct where you want the opening. More in the hips, more in the waist, more in the ribs. And then adding more of our three-dimensionality by taking that right shoulder, if you choose, towards that left hip, still side bending to the left, but adding a little forward bend and twist. Counter pose to this, the right hand to the hip, left hand behind head, back, bending over to the right with a little twist. Heart up, heart up, heart up. And then back to center. Either pause with arms by your side or both arms up. Keep the block. Tiptoe. Tippy, tippy, tip-top toes. Fingertips through the ceiling as if it was like frosting. Just sink them up in there. It's a little edgy. Keep your hands up there as if they could. Lower your heels. Pull both sideways long. Sit deep. Utkatasana. One or two more breaths here. Keep squeezing the block. Outer heels heavy. Stay low. Interlace your hands behind you if you can. Bow forward. Top of head towards toes. Knuckles towards sky. Have your elbows a little bent. From here, you guys should be at the top of your mat. I have to reposition. Take the block out from between your knees. Put both blocks on the floor next to you at the front of your mat. And from here, step your left foot back. Left foot back. And from simple lunge here, you could do hands on blocks or not. And go to and fro. So rolling on the ball mounds of your left foot. Punching the left heel back and then reaching the right knee forward. Invite more distance between your two knees. And let's lower slowly the left knee. Keep reaching left knee and right knee apart. So you land left knee on the ground with a fair amount of distance between your two knees. And then can you invite your left sit bone to sort of reach towards the back of your knee? So you're turning on your left hamstring in the interest of feeling like your left thigh bone can go to the ceiling. Catch your blocks, tall side, right under your shoulders. And use a little push down with the hands on the blocks to get lighter on your left knee, but keep that left knee in contact with the floor. Keep reaching both knees apart. Keep inviting the navel to dive towards your tail. And for me, this is a lot. This is a lot for the front of that hip. Depending on what you're feeling, especially side waist peeps, you can keep right hand on the block and take the left arm up and do a little side bend to the right. Could be straight to the right or forward and to the right. We're going to do that in a moment with a twist. Or it could be back and to the right. Depends on what you feel. And then taking it into a twist. So I back my hips up a little bit, trying to tuck knee into back of the armpit. The block that's in your hand, grab it. Flat side, put it between your two hands and try to smash the block between your two hands. You're welcome to stay on the left knee or take it up. And squeeze that right sit bone under you. So use your right glute here to wrap that right sit bone under. And you climb out when you're ready. Back to symmetry, whether it's cats and cows or a child's pose, or you just sit in kneeling, or you rock both your dogs. Doesn't matter what you do in the middle. I'm gonna rock the dogs. And we'll meet at the top of the mat. Actually, whatever, left foot forward. Whether you stepped forward from the dog or you stepped back from your forward bend. So here we are again, left foot lunge, to and fro. And as you go towards the top, scoop that left sit bone under. And as you go back, punch through that right heel. Keep your left sit bone under. Create distance between the two knees. And lower right knee slowly, getting a little more space between the two knees, between the two knees, between the two knees. Catch your blocks. Tall side. Get your hair out of your face. And then here we are, hands on blocks. A little push down with the hands to bring those shoulder blades down, to press the shoulder blades, and to make a little less weight on the right knee. And when I pull some weight out of that right knee, I can actually get a little clearer lengthening from knee to knee. It's also easier for me to turn on this right hamstring. Stay here, or left hand supported by the block, right arm up. You go to the side. You go forward to the side, or back into the side, whatever feels most helpful for what you got going on. And the twist when you're ready. So I come out of the lunge a wee bit, pulling my left ovary back, outer armpit onto that outer left knee, and then pick that block up, put it between your hands on its flat side, and try to crush the block. Both hands, keep knee down or lift the knee. Back leg knee. Twist the morning away. Twisting, twisting. Everybody's feeling great. Maybe, I hope you are. Another breath or two. When you're ready, plan your dismount, come back to symmetry, whether you're softly resting quietly, or you're moving softly, or you're moving strongly. You could also do chair pose if you want to be static but strong. This this time we'll for sure meet in standing. So you bring your feet to the top of the mat, and you can travel by land or by air. I don't care. Take your time, come rolling on up. Find a mountain that suits you. Catch one block, we'll meet in standing. So you can still be at the top of your mat. I'm making it so you can see me. So block on its flat side lengthwise with your foot. And come to stand. Let's start with the right foot up on the block. So the block is a certain size and your foot's a certain size. Your toes might hang off. Make your heel clearly on the block. And then stand tall on the block. So there's a way you can stand tall and that left hip can be dripping down, and see how it makes me sort of send the weight out the side of my right hip. Don't do that. Hug that outer right hip in. Stand straight and tall as if both feet were on the same surface, and you can see my left leg is dangling. Your left leg should be dangling. If your feet are so long that your left toes are touching the floor, stand on 2 blocks. Really strong and tall on the right side. Right? This can be a very stabilizing action for SI issues. If you have SI issues, proceed with care with this one. One side might be real good medicine, the other side might actually not be good for you. And so I'm just envisioning my left leg dangling from my heart. You know, the psoas muscle connects near there behind the heart and goes all the way to that inner thigh. And the QL, our muscle of focus today, sort of lives behind it. It's 10:08. That's no bueno. It's a long class. You can also envision it attaching from behind your throat. 1 or 2 more breaths here. You might feel some intensity in the stabilizing muscles of the right side. You could be a little juicy, like lift up more, maybe settle down some. You don't have to be static. And when you're ready to step down, do so gingerly. Touch the left toes to the floor. Slowly put weight there. Check out the shift. Then catch your block. Put it between your 2 knees. Squeeze and either stay or squeeze and lengthen. And maybe sit. Other side. Stand on block with left. Stand tall right, or no, on your left, still standing tall on your left. Right side dangling. So took a picture of you and photoshopped your feet out, it would look like you're standing on your 2 feet. Hugging outer left hip in, right leg dangling, and as if it's dangling from behind your heart, because you can make that case. I can make that case that it is. Top of head reaching forever, left foot rooting forever. And if you get a real good sense of connection of that dangling leg into your deep center, you might even be able to feel it sort of hanging from the back of your throat. I can also make that case anatomically. If you're curious about that, just PM, private message me later. Maybe some fatigue over here. Might feel great. Might be really hard. Whatever the case, what a joy to interact, to connect, to yoga. Take your time as you're ready. Feel for the floor with those right toes. Find your ground slowly, slowly. Slowly come on off. Catch your block. Reset. either reset softly here with a simple squeeze or be a little stronger, a little more fiery with a reach, even more so taking a seat. We're going to meet wide-legged, so when you remove your block, go ahead and take a step out to the right. Take your feet wide apart. Bend your knees a little. Some of you might need blocks under your hands to bring the floor up. I call this front lineman asana. So if you bend your knees a lot, actually, and your toes are straight ahead and your hands are under your shoulders, and get this little tug in the outer ankles. I love it. Works for me. If it doesn't work for you, don't do it. Eventually we'll meet with legs pretty well straight. And I vote that you find some position here in the middle to bring either hands to the floor or to blocks, maybe elbows to the floor. Super strong legs. Outer feet, outer legs are really diving down, and you pull up inner arches, inner ankles, inner knees, inner thighs, pelvic floor. You could use your hands to help accentuate the stretch. And then both knees soften. Go ahead and catch the right leg. So the left hand sweeps across. Left hand is going to be lower than the right. So I can get my outer ankle with my left hand as far down as you can grab. Right hand somewhere on the outer calf. And start to straighten your right leg, the leg you're holding, straighten it. And bend the other knee a lot. A lot. Bend it and slide that direction. So left hand pulls on the leg to bring left side under. And right hand pushes on the outer calf. And it's like left nipple to right knee. Even if it's only in your mind, which certainly is just in my mind. And you keep bending that left knee. Keep pulling yourself towards your right leg lovingly. Breathe. Easy. Strong right thigh. Left thigh is clearly strong. Switch sides. Maybe your front lineman position in the middle. Maybe you come to stand up and just chill for a second. Whatever you got to do between sides. And then the right hand catches outer left ankle. Both knees are soft. Left hand, outer calf. Outer leg somewhere. And then bend that right knee. And you're going to pull with the right hand, push with the left, twisting. Right knee is really bent. Right knee is like pulling your body, hips to the right, but your arms pulling torso to left. So like right nipple to left knee. And then back to center. How you come back to center is up to you. You could come to stand, do chair pose, flow with your two dogs. I'm running out of time. I have a commitment at 10:30, so it's going to be cut a little bit short. I hope you guys are enjoying it so far. Wide-legged again. Right leg turns out, left leg turns in. Both knees are bent. So it's triangle pose with both knees bent. We did this yesterday. Go ahead, side bend, catch the right ankle. You could use a block, right? And as you straighten your front leg, that's the right leg, try to send the hips up and to the left as you straighten it. Right, so it's like you're pulling that outer right hip back, you're lengthening the inner leg, you're still very bent in your back knee, very bent. I don't need the block, so I'm setting it aside. And then if you look at that left foot, can you swing your hips forward enough that you can almost hide the whole left foot from view? And then a little bit more here on the side. I love this. I can brace elbow on knee or just hand to floor. I don't even need to straighten the back leg. I get a little bit more when I don't. But if you wish, straighten your back leg. Straighten, straighten. Trikonasana, left arm up or overhead, might give you a little bit more juice in that side body. And then from here, what we're gonna do, you're welcome to simply step back to down dog. Come on out, take a rest. A little more up level. If you keep the feet as they are, walk your hands to the front of you. That right toes, those right toes are still pointing to the right. Kick that left heel under a little bit, and then bring your hips down into this half squat. I call it half squat. And you can point and flex those right toes. So this is going to be big time groin probably for many of you. If you cannot get your hips all the way down, don't force it. You could certainly work up here. A little bit of an echo of a shape we made earlier. It's going to get your groin. This is for people whose knees bend easily, ankles bend easily. Right, and then we're going to bring this up and over to triangle on the other side. So if you want something in the middle, you can rock your dogs. Just looking at things rolling up my screen. Other side. Externally rotate left, internally rotate right. Both knees are really bent, and as you side bend towards the left leg, hips stay forward as much as you can. Don't poke your bum back. And take that outer left hip to the right, way over there. Start with soft knees, quite bent actually. Use a block if you need it. As you straighten first the left leg, keep the right knee bent. As you straighten first that left leg, try to pull that left hip under you more and sending this right hip up, 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 up. Turning away from the floor. So right ribs roll back. And if you take a peek at that back foot, can you hide most of the foot with your hips? Hips forward, upper body back. No need to straighten the back leg. It's up to you. I really like what this offers. This is another tidbit I learned from Tias, one of my beloveds. If you straighten it, go for more length in that outer hip. And then the arm can be either up to the sky or overhead or behind you. Breathe and be free. Be free to feel, to address what you feel. It's the only true refuge. So here, if you're a little less advanced, probably stand up and take a chill. If you're a little more up level, walk your hands around to the front. Keep those left toes turned out. Kick the right heel under you a wee bit, and then bring yourself into this half squat. Half squat, half squat. I'm rocking the heel, pointing, flexing the toes. And then when you're ready to climb out, I'm going to go into my dogs. You could just stand, or you could cat-cow, or child's pose, or whatever. So let's meet at the top of the mat with both of our blocks. And blocks on their tall side. Torso up, step left foot back, about a leg's length between your 2 feet. Left toes a little turned out, so stands for Parshvottanasana, people call it pyramid pose. You gotta turn that left hip forward. Turn that left hip forward towards your right toes. Hands on hips can help to stabilize, hug outer hips in. Lift up front body like you're zipping up a wetsuit. Heart up, chest up, come forward. And as you come forward, make sure the two hips stay sort of level. So there's a tendency for new students to sort of leave the left hip back. More experienced students tend to tip that left hip forward. And either of those things are fine, but if it's an unconscious, unknowing habit, I vote you address it, right? And see if you can level your hips. And then the block in your left hand, step it way forward, way forward. You sort of push the mat forward with your right foot. You can have the right hand on the block to help stabilize you, or put your right hand on your hip. And so taking your left butt back and your left hand forward, stretchy, stretchy, stay here, or left hand comes to the block that's still to the outside of your right foot or to the floor for revolved triangle. Keep compacting the outer hips into each other, almost like you're trying to squeeze your bum. And if you can really get that right shoulder stacked, then maybe right arm to the sky. But you have to pile drive whatever your left hand is on. You have to really shove that down, whether it's on a block or the floor, and feel as you shove that down how it brings those left ribs around. And then you find your way back to symmetry, whatever that looks like for you. Rock your two dogs or cat-cow. Holy moly, Caroline Peavy. You asked for it, babe. All right, other side. Right foot steps back. Square your two hips. Square your hips. It's such a funny thing. There's nothing square about our body. But try to get both hips to the front. Right hip towards left toes. Zip up your wetsuit. Stand tall on both legs. Really stand on both legs. And come forward. Your blocks are there. Compact those outer hips. This might be enough, right? No need to go further. High. Or right hand steps that block way far forward. Keep squeezing outer hips. Check that right hip so you at least know what it's doing, even if you cannot make another choice. Left hand can be like training wheel, and then distance from right hip to right fingers. Long, 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 long. Left hand maybe on hip, maybe still supporting you. And then at your leisure, if you choose it, yum, the revolved triangle. Hand on block maybe, or floor. You try to keep all that length. Head and tail diametrically opposed. Spinning, rotating, spiraling on that midline. Right hand pile drives, whatever it's touching, just shove it down and feel those right ribs wrap around. Back to symmetry at your leisure. Whatever symmetry looks like for you. And we're going to meet in sitting. We're going to meet in sitting. At this point, actually, I recommend child's pose. I have an obligation at 10:30, so I am going to have to go here. So if you choose child's pose, you could take that right into Shavasana. I didn't plan well. This is weird. I'm doing my best. But then I would recommend maybe if you wanted to go further, a Janu Shirshasana. All right, still with this side. And so the knee and the foot having more distance is going to challenge the side back as you fold in. If that knee is closer to the straight leg foot, it's going to be more about the hamstring. Generally speaking, right? There's lots of variables. So take good rest. I love you, and we'll get through this together. Tomorrow's offering is probably going to be more like yin style. And then Friday I've got requests for somatics. I teach a somatic class on Fridays. That's going to be the Friday morning class. And then let's say Saturday morning we'll rock out some strong vinyasa. Thank you everyone. I love you, and see you tomorrow, I hope. Be well.